Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great January. This time of year, I've been thinking how food can start to seem like the enemy, and we can feel like Hansel and Gretel, painfully aware that following that sugar trail from Thanksgiving to New Year's was probably not the best life decision we ever made. So we resolved to eat less calories, to make healthier choices, and for once in our lives, to exercise more self-control. And there's a place for that. But if we're not careful, our zeal to be more healthy can push us into another problem. One where we forget that food, first and foremost, is one of God's gifts to us and how He shows us who He is. Now, that might sound crazy, but I'm just taking the Apostle Paul seriously in Romans 1:20, where he says that from the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made. And last time I checked, the Korean barbecue I ate on the weekend falls under the category of what has been made, which means it also teaches me something about God. So if the Apostle Paul is right, we need to be careful about our attitude about food. Because if we start to treat it like the enemy, we're going to miss out on an opportunity to discover something about God. But one of our problems, I think, here in America, for most of us, is that we encounter food so regularly that it becomes part of our expected backdrop of life. It just seems too regular, too physical, too mundane to be a connection point between us and God. But that's partly because we've lost some of the wonder of eating. Because when you think about it, God could have made us grass eaters, and we would have been happy to go outside for lunch. But He didn't. Instead, He gave us thousands of taste buds that replace themselves every 2 weeks, and He stocked this world full of tantalizing ingredients, and He gave us the creative capacity to discover that yeast rises and that onions caramelize, and that raspberries and chocolate are a match made in heaven. Or He could have made us to run on photosynthesis, which, in my opinion, would have been way more efficient. Just think of all the time we could have saved not shopping, not cooking, not having to eat. I mean, so much more time for prayer. But that wasn't God's plan. Instead, He hardwired us with a stop valve, hunger pains and hangry feelings that interrupt whatever we're doing and demand that we eat. So if Paul is right, God created us as culinary creatures and put us in a culinary world because He wanted to teach us certain things about Himself. And God knew that we would be forgetful, so He didn't just use words. He decided to impress it on our senses as well, every time we ate. So what can tiramisu or boiled green beans teach us about God? Simply put, that He's an extravagant God. It doesn't matter whether you're a foodie or the nachos and pizza type. When we eat, we all engage in a world where God has woven extravagance into the necessities of life. When we eat, whether it's tiramisu or whether we can only afford the green beans, we're participating in a world where beauty and diversity and momentary joys matter to God, to the God who made them. But unfortunately, we don't talk about this aspect of God a whole lot. And for many of us, that's not our experience with eating. Instead, meals are where we wage war on guilt and gluttony and our lack of self-control. But God intended so much more for food. And over the next couple of weeks, in my blogs, I hope to convince you of that. And together for us to catch a vision, a different vision. One where our dinner plates, our afternoon snacks, or even the cereal we eat for breakfast can be places where we connect with God and His extravagance. This year, let's not settle for better diets and healthier eating. Let's also recapture God's vision for food. Don't forget to subscribe to my blog, Faith in the Other Five Senses, so that you can get my weekly posts. And on my website, you'll find other content about how to recapture God's vision for life in this world. I hope you have an awesome week.